So I guess a good opening monologue for this is we're going to hit quite a few topics related to politics. This is going to come out basically on election day. So if you haven't already voted, I really recommend you to get out there. I really want you to get out there and vote. Your voice matters, your opinion matters, and you need your voice heard. So moving forward, let's look at who you're voting for based on some of their policies. Like, for instance, it was brought up earlier today to me with Kamala Harris. You know, Kamala Harris presented a quote-unquote economic plan. I haven't seen it, other than the fact that it's just a remade version of Biden's economic plan. So it's the current living conditions, the current situations, the current inflation, the current everything that you're living under. It's just a continuation. So if you really want to understand exactly what Harris's plan is, look at how you're living right now. That's what her plan is. But the other thing that they do want to put forth is they do want to tax you more. And you say, well, yeah, they want to tax the rich. Well, you know, considering that if you have running water in the modern world, in the entire world right now today, if you have running water and you have electricity, you have a car, you have a way to actually go and vote, you're wealthy. Considering most of the rest of the world, you're wealthy. So you're rich. And that's the one that they're going to tax. You're the one they're coming after. They're coming after the wealthy, the rich. So we already pay enough on taxes as it is, in my opinion. And when you look at the way you're taxed before you get your money. Then after you get your money, you're taxed again based on the income that you actually earned. Then you're taxed again based on everything that you buy, everything that you sell, you get taxed. Everything that you put your money into that it moves out of your bank account, that it moves out of your hands. In that moment, it gets taxed yet again. To the tune of, by the time you take that $1 and it gets to you and it goes to where you're sending it and it makes the full circle, it's taxed roughly about 60%. And at this point, if we're taxed at that kind of tax rate, what is that, all of that money actually going to? Where are we actually seeing the benefit of that dollar in our lives as Americans? In reality, we're not. And it's not just the current administration. We've been so well taxed and so well manipulated in the taxing that we've accepted it. And we haven't screamed about it. We haven't said enough is enough. And they don't think we ever will. And by they, I actually do mean the people that actually control the economy. Because you have to say, well, who is that person? And that's where you get it wrong. So many people say, well, point out the person that's controlling Biden. Who's in control if it's not Biden? Point out the person that's controlling Powell. Who's in control if it's not Jerome Powell? It is not just any one person. We're talking about World Economic Forum groups. We're talking about subsidiary groups that are actually under the World Economic Forum, that are actually here in the United States, that are in governmental control, in governmental positions. We have these people that are in control and in positions of different financial companies. We have people that are in control and in positions in different banks. That's how your money is controlled. That's how you're taxed. That's the people that pull the strings. That's the people that have the say-so in your life and my life on a daily basis, and we don't even know who they are, where they are, or in reality how many they are. So there's quite a few different people that have asked me, well, in this kind of tax situation, what can you do to fix it? Well, there's a lot of different ways. One of the very first ways that comes to mind is not the best way, but it's one of the very first ways that comes to mind is nobody pay their taxes. If you just quit paying taxes, the government can only last about 90 days. But then in reality, if the government only lasts about 90 days, you have to kind of take into exception, are we relinquishing one power and one evil for one that could possibly be greater? Because if a vacuum is created something or someone will come in there and fill that vacuum. And whatever comes in to fill that vacuum might actually be 10 times worse than what we currently have. So even though while it sounds good to just not pay taxes, period, and let them crash, you don't know who's going to fill their place at this current point, at this current position in time. So I would be very hesitant to suggest even something along that lines. But what I would be definitely for is putting somebody in power, in position, president and Congress, that has the ability to understand how economics works, how a business structure works, and how we as Americans are put under pressure due to taxes in day-to-day business and day-to-day life. And if you put those kind of people in control and those kind of people in power, and they begin working together, then and only then can we actually begin to start fixing the current situation. But until then, we're going to be taxed to no end. There is zero end in sight, and there's zero say-so on where the money goes. And we're looking in a situation right now where we feel like we're in this helpless state when it comes to doing something about what we don't like and what we don't agree with in our government. And in reality, that's exactly what it feels like. And it has felt like for years. It felt like this since 2020, while Trump was in office, when they had the shutdowns and during 2020, and they had complete lockdowns, not only nationwide, but worldwide. And not everything with 2020 was handled correctly. But then at least coming out of that, we didn't have any inflation to fight. And in fact, if you look at the inflationary records, we didn't have to start raising rates and fighting inflation until the end of 2021. And at the end of 2021, that's when Kamala Harris cast that tie-breaking vote to go ahead and approve, to push through the Inflation Reduction Act. And you say, well, yeah, it was a tie-breaking vote, but it actually wasn't put into full law until 2020, and inflation spiked right after that before it was fully implemented. And I absolutely agree with you, but when you look at the way economics works and look at the way that the markets are actually traded, you understand that a lot of these companies try to foreseeably pad in economic situations. So like, for instance, if we're having FOMC, or if we're having CPI, or if we're having GDP reports, and we want to have a kind of an idea of where the markets are going to go, usually 1, 2, 3, 4 days in advance, the markets start shifting in order to try to predict what's going to happen in order to secure their place in the market when that report comes out. So when the market saw that the Inflation Reduction Act got passed, they knew at that moment that we're coming into an inflationary period and we better hedge our bets. So the markets leaped into action in order to start hedging their bets against inflation. What that's done is that's actually taken the buying power, the voice power, and just the overall general power of the American people away that much more. Because while money is money, it is nothing but a tool. But it is a tool that is used to gain and garner power. Just like you use money to pay your light bills, your water bills, and to buy food. The more money you have, the easier it is to pay for those things. And when you have more money and you can pay for things easier, it gives you more power. It gives you more leverage to go to the next level, to be able to purchase more, to be able to buy more, to have more leverage or more power with the money you have. So money is nothing but a fictitious piece of paper or a number on a phone in your checking account. That's it. That's all that it is. And we've been taught to believe that we're valued based on that number, when in reality, our value is actually here. and what we believe in ourselves, not the number that we're actually been taught to see. So when you learn that your value is based here and that money is nothing but a tool and doesn't dictate your value, then only then you can use it to actually leverage the power that you have in order to start getting what we need. And we can't do it alone. It's going to take more than just me. It's going to take more than just you. And that's what this election is coming up to is as leftist extremists begin losing money, they begin losing power. As they begin losing power, they begin losing money. It works both directions. And in order to gain the power back, we have to put the money back in the hands of the American people. And the way to do that is to cut taxes. We start cutting taxes versus raising taxes. We start cutting taxes on business first, immediately. And then when you start cutting taxes on business, then you start cutting taxes on money earned. And as you cut taxes on money earned, people are keeping more money in their pockets, which allows them to funnel more money into the actual free markets that this country and this economy is founded on, versus allowing the government to have control of that money. Because when the government has control of the money, you're not any different than a socialistic democracy. No difference. When the government is in control of the money. When the people are in the control of the money, then you have true capitalism, and the people truly do have the power. That was what was intended when America was founded. That's what the founding fathers actually meant. And that's what they intended to have happen. Because if you look at what they came out of, they actually escaped from the exact same thing that we have going on here way back then. They were running from that tax structure they were being taxed to the point that their government had garnered all the power. That's exactly what they were running from, was taxes. And yet here we are now with Kamala Harris, and she's wanting to raise your taxes by taxing businesses. She wants to raise your taxes by taxing unrealized capital gains. She wants to raise your taxes by giving you a $25,000 home buyer's credit. Do you not understand where that money's coming from? They're not printing it out of thin air. They're getting it from you. They're pulling it from your pocket, and they're turning around and giving it back to you as a gift. But they take it from you first. And they turn around and give it back to you and say, oh yeah, here's your gift. Really? It's not a gift. It's your money. They just took from you. Now they're just giving it back. But are they really giving it back? Because the business that you're paying it to, in order to purchase that property or that home, has to pay that money right back to the government. So are they actually giving you the money? Are they actually really relinquishing control of that money? No. They're just putting the money in the market and they're looping it right back to themselves. So as far as the current tax structure and tax plan that we're under with Biden, yes, he did carry over some of Trump's stuff, but he implemented some of his own as well, which ended up putting more pressure on business. And the latest job report actually shows that 12,000 jobs added. Come on. But nevertheless, going forward, we have to understand that the current tax structure, if continued forward, is doing nothing but empowering a government that has zero checks and balances right now.